What's up, YouTube? I'm Casey Kramer, and this is Playground TV Productions. Now, like I said in my intro video, which you probably couldn't hear, sorry, it's been a while since I last used Adobe Premiere, I'm still getting back used to it. In this video, I'm going to be giving you 5 totally free to use ideas for screenwriting projects. These ideas are 100% original, 100% yours to take, and maybe like 75% awesome? I don't know. They're amazing ideas, and I have complete faith in them, but quality is entirely subjective. Hopefully you'll like them though. Now, if you don't want to sit through this whole video and instead just want to skip ahead to whichever of these ideas sound the most interesting, here are the times to go to. I'll wait for a second so you can get them. And now, without further ado, here is idea number 1. It's for a TV sitcom that I like to call Dead Marriage. This series follows the Greek goddess Persephone, who has grown tired in her millennial-long marriage, or extended kidnapping, depending on which version of the story you've read, to the underworld god Hades. So, she looks for a way to spice things up. Her solution? An open marriage. And, with all the denizens in the underworld to choose from, it's going to be one hell of an open marriage indeed. Now, this series to be taken in a number of ways, depending on your own thoughts and ideas. I want you guys to have as much creative freedom as possible so you can make these ideas your own. But first, here are a couple of things to consider with this one. For example, does Hades approve of the open marriage immediately because it gives him the opportunity to get with a bunch of chicks? Or does he still approve, but more because he sees it as a way to better his relationship with his wife? And what about Persephone? Why does she want the open marriage in the first place? Boredom? Rage? Lust for someone else? That's entirely up to you. And also, what other main characters are you going to include in this series? Other Greek gods and figures from mythology? Maybe a couple of dead girlfriends for Persephone to hang out with? Or a dead bro for Hades, perhaps? And then there's the romance aspect of the series. Do you use the open marriage as a way to show that a little time apart can sometimes help a couple and even pull them closer together in the end? Or do you use it to show healthy, happy polyamory by having Hades and or Persephone really fall for someone else but still stay together as a couple? Or triple/quadruple in this instance, I guess. Speaking of which, who do Persephone and Hades date? Are they 100% hetero? Or do they date both men and women relatively equally? I think that's really all the things you need to consider for this idea. So for now, we shall move away from the realm of fantastical romance to the land of sci-fi action and adventure. Ladies and gentlemen, and in between, I give you Bonnie and Clyde. Its concept is simple. In a futuristic world, a gang of outlaws fight against a dictatorial race of aliens who now control the galaxy. This group is led by 2 love-struck rebels, Bonnie and Clyde. Now, in my version of the idea, it's not the actual Bonnie and Clyde from history who lead this group of rebels. Although that actually does sound really cool. If you think that's better, feel free to go with that. Anyways, whether it's the actual Bonnie and Clyde from history or not, their story would largely probably be the same. 2 love-struck rebels committing crimes all across the galaxy in an attempt to bring down the tyrannical rule of the alien empire that controls it. And I'm just gonna make a small suggestion here. When I first came up with this idea, I named the race of aliens the Law. I just thought that was cool and kind of clever, you know, since Bonnie and Clyde's whole thing is breaking the law. Plus the name makes them sound all dark and ominous and definitely evil. Anyways, it's your decision. But still, there are other things to consider for this idea that even I haven't figured out yet, and I'm the one who came up with it. For starters, who else is in Bonnie and Clyde's gang? There's probably a brains guy, a muscles guy, a stealth guy. The list goes on and on. But another thing to consider is, are these people even human? And if they're not, what sort of features and powers do members of their alien race have? Also, there's the quintessential question that revolves around the real story of Bonnie and Clyde, and that is, do you kill them off? Do you let the dictators, the law, whatever you want to call them, actually win? Or are their deaths more of a martyr type thing that rallies the rest of the galaxy together in an attempt to bring down the dictators once and for all? And also, how soon will you kill them off, if at all? If you're making this into a TV series, it would probably be best not to kill them off. For a movie though, it could provide a great emotional climax for some of the characters and the audience too, if you got them really invested in the couple. Sort of like a Rogue One type thing, you know? But anyways, now it's time to move away from the world of the future, back to the past, to good old Victorian England. People of YouTube, I give you Adler. There have been many different versions of the tale of Sherlock Holmes. There's Elementary, a series I have not yet seen, but have been told is quite good. There's BBC's Sherlock, a series I have seen, but have since stopped watching because good God, it just went downhill so fast. And then there's the Robert Downey Jr. version, which I also have not seen, but have received various mixed reviews and numerous mentions about how it's a shame they did not reference that, or the Benedict Cumberbatch series in the MCU. Has there ever been a series about the person who outsmarted Sherlock Holmes? More specifically, the woman who outsmarted Sherlock Holmes. I am talking about Irene Adler. Wait, no, get that picture out of here. That is not Irene Adler. Irene Adler is not a dominatrix who's always naked. And most importantly, she did not get Sherlocked. She beat Sherlock. Game, set, match, checkmate, home run, touchdown, TKO, she won! Irene Adler is a smart, observant, multi-talented woman with an intellect and cunning on par with Sherlock Holmes, if not better. And this idea finally gives her the respect she deserves. The concept. After the death of the famed Sherlock Holmes, the city of London is left without a consulting detective. Until, that is, Dr. John Watson happens to run into the woman who once outsmarted Sherlock Holmes, Irene Adler. Yes, I know what you're all thinking. Yeah, Sherlock did die for a while, but then it turned out he was okay all along, right? Well, what if he wasn't? At least, he wouldn't be okay for a while. I mean, you gotta give this series a couple of seasons showing Irene without Holmes, right? Now, there are multiple ways you could flesh out this idea. For example, does Irene have her own Moriarty? And if she does, is it another woman or a man? Or is it even the same Moriarty that Holmes fought against, who's alive after all, just like Sherlock? And what is her relationship with Watson like? Is it similar to his one with Holmes, where he idolizes her and she's mostly condescending to him? Or could it be more playful and banterish? Or is it possibly romantic? Oh, let me just say, Irene Adler has already basically been reduced to nothing but a love interest. Plus, she's actually married in the original Sherlock Holmes canon. So please, for the love of God, try and avoid making Irene Adler just a love interest for Watson. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got for this idea. And now, we move away from the world of Victorian England to the modern age of medical science. Specifically, psychology, in an idea I like to call Shrunk. Here's the concept. A psychiatrist who suffers from some sort of psychological disorder goes through life treating his clients, treating himself, and treating his daughter, who also suffers from the same psychological condition that he does. Now, this idea would work great as either a family/medical drama or a heartwarming comedy a la One Day at a Time. Provided, of course, that there aren't any cruel or cheap jokes made at the expense of the main character's condition. Speaking of which, what condition are the main character and his daughter afflicted with? I personally went with schizophrenia. It's one of the more difficult conditions to treat, and it would provide a lot of interesting plots you rarely get to see in TV and movies. However, there are plenty of other mental conditions that would be interesting to see, if and only if they are written properly and with respect. Examples include autism, OCD, antisocial personality disorder, bipolar personality disorder, etc. Those are just a few ideas off the top of my head, but there are plenty more. You could also make it so that the father doesn't know that his daughter is afflicted with the same condition as him at first. Maybe she hides it because her dad is a shrink, or maybe he just never saw the signs. Whatever you decide to do with this idea, I'm sure it'll be interesting. And finally, we move on to our last free idea of the day, coming full circle back to the idea of fantastical romance for an idea I like to call Young at Heart. This idea is somewhat complicated, but it's a personal favorite of mine, so please bear with me. A quote-unquote young immortal, which means they're only like 100 years old or so right now poses as an average college student to hide the fact that they're immortal. However, one day after class, their professor calls them into their office to talk about something. They say that they have noticed certain signs from the student that they are an immortal. The professor then reveals that they are also an immortal, but from like way back further in the past. Naturally, the two immortals feel a kinship to each other, and over time slowly start to fall in love. Touching, isn't it? This idea could work as either a romantic fantasy film with a bit of a history twist, or even a romantic drama series. I guess it can also be a sitcom, but to be honest, I never saw it that way myself. But hey, do whatever you want. Like my other ideas, there are a couple of things to consider first. For example, what time periods are these immortals from? For the younger one, I was thinking early 1900s, or the Gilded Age at the earliest. The older one I would imagine would be from a much farther back time, like ancient Rome, ancient Greece, ancient Egypt, or the biblical Middle East. And by the way, if you make your character from Egypt or the Middle East, please, for God's sake, cast them right. This is not what people looked like back in ancient Egypt. I repeat, do not cast a pasty-ass white dude for the role of an immortal from Africa or the Middle East. It's just not cool, okay? Also, what genders are the immortals? You could make the story a more common hetero romance, but think of how awesome it would be to have actual LGBT rep in a film about history. A lesbian from ancient Greece who partied it up with Sappho. A man who hasn't loved since his previous boyfriend perished in World War II. There are so many great possibilities here, guys! And that is all the ideas I have to give away in this video. Be sure to subscribe so you can get more ideas in the future, and you might as well hit that little bell too so you get the notifications. My next video is going to be an actual in-depth look at a TV series I've written called Mad. It's a sitcom about a mad scientist from Victorian England who has to deal with his equally eclectic family in order to pursue his diabolical experiments. And trust me, it's hilarious. And please, feel free to donate to my Patreon. There's a link in the description below. Plus, I already uploaded the pilot script for Mad and its treatment as well, for those of you who want to get a feel for the series before my next video. That's all I have for this video. Until next time, I'm Casey Kramer, and this is Playground TV Productions. Good night, everybody.